What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some major news going on here for you guys in this video and some controversy going on here right before the midterm elections. Senator Joe Manchin, who is technically a Democrat, but very middle-leaning, causing or in the maybe I should say in the center of a lot of controversy between him and the president right now from a president's remarks here. I'll give you the details on this. There's actually a lot of controversy or a lot of kind of battles going on here right before the midterm elections. Some very close races here in Pennsylvania. I'll let you hear from the former president here, actually, on one of those here. So a lot of kind of battles going on here in this video. We'll go over some of that here as the midterm elections coming up here. So let me know your thoughts here on this. And yeah, if you're new to our channel, if you haven't yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos. It's completely free to do so. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. And thank you so much for liking and sharing these videos as well. Here we go. Let's jump right in. Yeah, so Senator Joe Manchin slamming President Biden right before the midterm elections. I mean, Biden's not up for re-election, but Democrats and Republicans are. Manchin says what he calls disgusting comments about shuttering coal plants. Coal plants. You can let me know your thoughts on what you think about coal plants. But here's what's going down. Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, slammed President Joe Biden for making, quote, offensive and disgusting comments about shutting down coal plants at an event in California. Now, this is interesting because remember that Senator Joe Manchin and his family own a coal plant in West Virginia. And Politico and the New York Times did some very interesting stories. I covered this a while ago about, they did some investigating here about, you can see directly here from the New York Times, about how Joe Manchin aided coal and earned millions of dollars actually charging West Virginians more money than they should have paid otherwise, keeping one of the dirtiest coal mines in existence in business. In fact, the last coal mine of its type in business anywhere in the state, I think in the country as well. It's called a gob coal mine. I don't remember the exact details of if it's the only one left in the country, but I know it's the only one left in the state. So he's used a lot of his political power there. And you can see here from Politico how Joe Manchin used politics to protect his family coal company. Selling scrap coal has earned Joe Manchin millions of dollars over 3 decades and has used his political positions to protect the fuel from laws and regulations that threatens his family's business, earning millions of dollars doing this. So now he's slamming President Biden over what he calls offensive and disgusting comments about shutting down coal plants. So as you can see, there's quite a conflict of interest here. But nonetheless, Biden gave remarks at a corporate headquarters of where Biden signed the CHIPS and Science Act in August to provide $50 billion that was approved by Congress for semiconductors. Biden said that generating electricity from wind and solar is cheaper than generating it from coal and oil, which is pretty much true. You don't have to continually dig stuff out of the ground, and as soon as it's burned, dig more stuff out of the ground. He said that people are not building new coal plants because they cannot rely on it. And this is true. New coal plants are not being built. In fact, here you can look at, this is directly from the EIA.gov. This is from 2021 here. Primary energy consumption by source for the U.S. For energy of the grid. So this doesn't include like car usage and stuff like that here. But you can see here, coal is actually like the second lowest power source for the country. This is 2021. So 2022 is going to show like even less coal being used. We don't have the data of this yet. And even more like new renewable being used here. But as you can see here, petroleum, which is gas, and natural gas, still very, very high. And the more that the government uses this to power like our grid, this makes things like gas at the pump and natural gas that you use for your house more expensive, more expensive. So the more they use renewable stuff like nuclear power plants, because once they build a nuclear power plant once, it basically has very little cost, just some maintenance people there. And same thing with solar and wind and hydroelectric and geothermal, okay? Because again, once they build the solar, once they build the wind, it's very little cost there. You don't have to continually dig stuff out of the ground. And we're not even talking about like the pollution and stuff, right? You know, those are just like kind of added benefits. But when the government continually uses petroleum and natural gas to power the grid, that costs you more money. That costs you more money. And the reason for this is really twofold. One, it's more expensive. You can just look up the numbers. It physically costs more because they have to continually they have to dig it out of the ground, and as soon as they put it in the furnace to burn it, it's gone. Then they have to dig it out of the ground again and dig it out of the ground again and dig it out of the ground again. And number two is the supply and demand thing. Okay, we know that diesel has like 25 days or less, and that's why diesel is the price has been soaring and going up here. And the reason for this is just think about any gas, natural gas. You use natural gas to heat your home this winter. We've seen the price of natural gas go from it's doubled, and at one point it was triple more than it was before the war in Russia and Ukraine here. Okay, so the more that and of course that has that whole situation of that here, and that's a worldwide problem. Okay, gas, diesel, natural gas has really soared worldwide. Okay, you can look up the price of any type of gas in any country. It's all gone up significantly here in the last year or so. But the more that governments, like the U.S. government, uses these type of gas, natural gas, and diesel to power the grid for each state, the more it costs because it's going to, if, for example, if the government's using millions and millions of barrel of oil and gas and diesel, that makes it more of a demand here. The more demand there is for gas and natural gas, the higher the price goes. Supply and demand. Just like right now that we see the headlines here, right here from Bloomberg, the diesel supply of just 25 days left in the US poses a massive problem for Biden. So this is true. We talked about this here a few days ago. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean we're going to completely run out of diesel in 25 days here in the US because we're constantly producing diesel, but we're dwindling down here. So it's we're running very, very short here. And actually some places in Europe have actually run out of diesel because again, this is a worldwide thing here, and the oil companies everywhere are just not producing enough. And remember that OPEC Plus a month ago here decided to cut oil production by 2 million barrels per day. So they're playing a dangerous game here with all of our livelihood. And they did this because they wanted to raise oil and gas prices. So they cut production here. OPEC Plus, Saudi Arabia, and Russia, and all of the OPEC Plus countries said, let's lower our production along with the gas and oil companies so that they could keep production or keep prices higher. So this is causing part of the diesel shortage in the US and everywhere. Okay. Now we're not part of OPEC Plus, but this is causing and part of the shortage here. Okay. And this is causing prices to go higher. And the more that governments, including the US, rely on things like natural gas, as you can see here in blue, and petroleum, this causes gas and diesel and natural gas prices to stay high or go higher. So every time you go and fill up your gas tank, or every time you buy food, anything you buy from the store has to be shipped there via a diesel truck and has, a diesel transportation surcharge in there, or you heat your home via natural gas. Just know here that that's being propped up by the government using natural gas and petroleum to use it for our grid. So the more and more the governments switch to renewable energy, even just set aside the whole clean energy is good for our environment and it doesn't pollute, things like that. Just set that aside. That's a bonus, right? If anything, it's good for our pocketbooks to not use these type of things, because you need to use gas for your car and your house to heat yourself, right? Well, Biden made an off the cuff comment saying we're going to be shutting these plants down all across America and having wind and solar, which is kind of really what is already happening here. We had a earlier here this year. You can see here a wow moment in April. U.S. renewable energy hit a record 28% in April. So at certain points in the year, depending on how the sun's shining and how the wind's shining, this can be as high as 28% of our energy. And remember that those statistics we've seen were from last year. Now we're starting to see this year, and it's growing ever more. Once you build wind and once you build solar, it pretty much just produces energy for very, very cheap. It's, once you build it, it's pretty much almost free, right? Well, of course, Joe Manchin's not happy about this, but honestly, the writing on the wall has been here for years. We've been using less and less coal for years. It's very expensive. It's very dirty. You have to dig it out of the ground every single day, day after day after day. And it's just something it's happening regardless of what Joe Manchin wants and his personal family coal mine. But you can let me know your thoughts here. Unfortunately, those jobs are going away no matter what, and those people are going to have to switch to other jobs, no matter what. It's just kind of happening regardless. Even states like Texas are investing more and more in solar, and there was a recent story here that California alone, with just the canal waterways, could invest in solar, put solar over the waterways. It would actually help with their drought because it would help evaporation. It would keep the water in and prevent evaporation. So it's a double thing that would help. But if they invested and put the money, remember, California's got a $97 billion surplus, so they definitely have the money to do this, and they're starting to build this now. This alone could generate 60% of the entire California state's electricity by 2030. And California, which has had major drought, it could save an estimated 63 billion gallons of water annually. All they got to do is build it, which they're starting to do now. And any state can do this, right? This sounds like a win-win. This is what they're starting to do, right? This is just, and again, when they do this type of stuff here, it means that the government saves money and saves you money, because then they use less petroleum and they use less natural gas. And that brings the price down of natural gas, and it brings the price down of gas, diesel, and natural gas, which you need to fuel your car and to fuel your home for your home heating. Remember, when you go to heat your home this winter, it's probably going to be the highest cost ever. And remember that the largest user of natural gas is the government. And remember that one of the largest users of petroleum gas is the government, because I showed you the graph here that, look at this. The government is using petroleum and natural gas here and diesel and for industry, and the less and less. Now, it's never going to go down to zero. There's never going to be the government goes down to not using diesel for industry and not using natural gas. But the less they use it, the better. because it's just going to bring the price down for people that have gas cars, for people that have natural gas to heat their home, and things like that. So, honestly, coal is just fading away. It's just kind of what's happening, and it is what it is. So, I mean, you can let me know your thoughts on this, but I mean, do we want coal plants? They're very expensive. They're very dirty, and you have to dig the stuff out of the ground every single day. Petroleum and natural gas, we need those for our cars and our homes. I don't think we want the government to keep using that if we don't need it. We can't exactly phase out petroleum and natural gas right now because we have an energy crisis, we have an energy shortage. So we need those, and we need to build more power. So where do we get more power from? We really focus on things like nuclear and renewable energy, like solar and wind, because they're cheap, and once you put solar and wind up, they just keep making power every single day. And there's really not a lot of downside to them, right? I mean, of course, you could find a downside to really anything. I could sit here and argue a downside to any of these things, right? There's always naysayers to anything, right? But I mean, this is kind of the direction that all states are going. All states have this kind of stuff, and really Europe and other countries are far ahead of us when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything in our country on a daily basis. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to click the bell icon after you subscribe, and don't forget to hit the like button for us as well. You can click here to watch my newest video next, and you can click here to see my newest video about checks going out to millions of Americans that you might not even know about. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.